Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're talking about the #1 most concerning thing that I have seen so far about NBA 2K25 MyTEAM, and that is the return of quit bans. Very poor decision in my opinion by 2K to bring quit bans back. Now, I am going to try to break down in this video why I think 2K implements these quit bans, but also explain my reasoning as to why I think it hurts the game for a few different reasons, and why I really hope that over the next week 2K decides to take them out. Now, I will acknowledge a couple of things that may change over the next couple weeks, but in this video I want to break down the fact that it looks like they're in the game and why I think they shouldn't be. So before we hop into it, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 30,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, back to uploading daily, and the uploads are going to go crazy as soon as 2K25 comes out. We're going to be uploading 6-7 videos a day just like last year, grinding out tons and tons of top 10s, tier lists, gameplays, all that type of stuff. Any type of videos y'all could think of for my team, I got y'all. So I'd really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. So let's first and foremost go back to the HTB video that I reacted to yesterday. I'm sure many of y'all saw this video, but if y'all did not, this is where HTB basically reveals that quit bans are coming back to my team. Let's just take a listen to it real quick, and then we will talk about this more.
#1 is a big one. I feel like the community was complaining about. Depending on who you are, it is going to bother you as far as the workflow of the game. This didn't happen to me at Calm Day, but it did happen to Killsmoy. He quit a game because he was using the wrong lineup, and then the ban screen popped up. That's right, guys, the ban screen. Now, I felt like this wasn't really going to be removed for this year, and maybe it is removed, maybe it isn't. Things aren't necessarily finalized yet at Calm Day, but I'm not the biggest fan of that because I feel like that slows down the pace of the game. But at the same time, I feel like they're going to keep it in there, especially because they've now brought the park to my team. They want to make sure people aren't quitting games, which then leads me to my next concern, and that is going to be the complete workflow of TTO.
Okay, so we could talk more about the way TTO Park works later, although I've already discussed that. But right there, y'all see, quit bans in 2K25 look like a concern, to say the least, is what I will say. If they return, and I think HTB does make a good point, the version of the game that they were playing at Community Day is not the final up-to-date version of what NBA 2K25 MyTEAM is going to be. There are still things that were going to be changed after that, and it is possible, although I do think probably unlikely, that quit bans are one of those things that were to get removed. Now, #1, I will say this. Quit bans, the reason that I think 2K puts them in the game, or put them in the game last year, was to combat boosting. I think it was intended to prevent people who were, for example, you would see on the unlimited leaderboards in 2K23. For those of y'all who played 2K23, I'm sure y'all remember this. Y'all would see people on the leaderboards who were 192-0, but averaged 1 point per game, and their opponents averaged 0, because they were intentionally matching themselves on another console or something, or matching somebody else who was intentionally matching them, using like lineup glitching and stuff, basically to overall glitch and match themselves, and then having themselves quit on that other account, coming back into another game and doing it again. I think that's the main reason for the lack of quit, or for the change to quit bans, is because of the fact that it basically deters boosting significantly. Now, the problem with that is that's about the only quote-unquote benefit that this has, and all that really does is hurt about 2% of the community, maybe, if that. Like, I would say it's probably a smaller percentage than that actually is participating actively in boosting their account. So it does not do, I don't think, a ton of good to solve a lot of problems. Now, yes, it can kind of fix some things, but do I really care if people are boosting unlimited and getting the rewards earlier than they should and easier than they should? I mean, if a few people are doing it, I guess it just doesn't bother me that much. Maybe it should bother me more, but it just doesn't really very much. So, in my opinion, that's about the only thing it really addresses and the only thing it really does. The way they described it last year is that it was something to incentivize the value of finishing a game. The problem with that is nobody has fun when you are, for example, playing an unlimited game, which is now Showdown. But let's say you're playing a game and you're down 27 points at halftime. Dude's got a better squad than you. He's clearly a better player than you. You're not going to win the game. You want to quit. You're done. You want to move on to the next game. I get that. I'm not personally somebody who quits very much. I only got quit banned a couple times the entire year last year. And here's the honest truth. The only reason I ever got quit banned was because of error codes. So error codes are a big problem with quit bans as well, which is something I'll get to in just a second. But there is a large portion of the community that they're not the best player in the world. That's okay. Not everybody is going to be the best player in the world. But for a welcoming online experience to players, I feel like you shouldn't be getting banned for quitting when you go up against somebody who you're outmatched by. Not only that, it's not fun for the player who's winning by 50 points. They're not going to want to keep playing the game. When they win by 50 and they have to sit in the game for the third and fourth quarters, just up by 97 points. Not to mention, it endorses stalling. It will create more stalling. It's going to just create longer games, more annoying games, and less fun for people on both sides. The people who aren't very good and would like to quit the game, the person who's dominating the game and wants to just move on to their next game. It's just not a very good system for either player, because it just produces a gameplay that isn't very fun and isn't very enjoyable. And I think that's probably just the biggest issue, is that it just deters everybody's enjoyment of the game when you're winning by a lot or when you're losing by a lot and your opponent doesn't quit because they don't want to get banned. Number two, like I mentioned a second ago, error codes. The only times that I personally got quit banned last year, because I didn't quit games last year. I'm not the best MyTEAM player in the world, but I'm a pretty darn good MyTEAM player. I very, very rarely lose by even a significant margin of more than like about 10 points, even like in a limited game last year. So I would say all of my games basically are very close if I'm not winning. Even the games I'm losing are close games. So I didn't quit games much. But what did happen is, for example, my matchmaking would get glitched in Clutch Time Online. I'm sure this has happened to some of y'all as well, where it wouldn't load into a match, but then it would spin the ball like it was loading into a match, and then it would cancel and it wouldn't load into the match. And I'd back out and I'd close my app and restart my app, and it would give me a loss. I had a couple times where that would happen, and then I'd get an error code and I would get a quit ban. Or I'd be in a game, I'd get error coded out of the game, I get a quit ban. I'd be in a game, my internet shuts off. This happened once or twice. My internet just disconnects and I get a quit ban. Like, this happened a few times throughout the year where I got quit bans from a few different reasons without actually quitting the games. And that's obnoxious. I mean, that's just plain annoying. You don't even quit and you load into the game and you're banned for 30 minutes or an hour. And it's just like, what are we doing here? I mean, it was just, and I know this happened to a large portion of the community. This was not something that I personally just dealt with. It was something that was being dealt with and annoying for the entire community. I mean, I'm just not at all a fan of this system, and I think last year it was really not fun at all. I think it hurt a lot of people's enjoyment of the game, and I'm really worried that this year's kind of going to be more of the same if they don't change things. I just think quit bans hurt everybody's experience in the game. The good player, the bad player, and everybody in between, because there are always going to be games you're going to probably want to quit from. There are going to be games where you're going to be up by 72 points and you're going to wish your opponent would quit, but they're not going to quit because they don't want to get banned. I think quit bans do nothing but harm pretty much to 97% of the community. And me personally, just put it out there. I know 2K doesn't listen to what I have to say, and I don't think they're listening that much to their creators in general, but I think this is a pretty consensus opinion that we don't like quit bans and we'd like them to go away. I really hope 2K considers listening and takes quit bans out of NBA 2K24. They are the number one thing, in my personal opinion, so far. I said NBA 2K24, I meant 2K25. But they're the number one thing in NBA 2K25 MyTEAM so far, assuming that they are in the game, like HTB's video said, that I think is going to be a problem. And it's the number one thing that I would like to see changed, like to see improved upon, like to see removed from NBA 2K25 so far, because I actually think, surprisingly, I know y'all know me. A lot of y'all who have found me in the last year or so know me as the guy who complains about 2K constantly. I promise that's not the personality that I want to have. I want to praise 2K, and I actually think they're actually doing a pretty good job with 2K25 MyTEAM so far. It looks, at least on paper so far, like a pretty promising game. But this is one of the things that I think is just a complete no. Please don't do it. Please take it out of the game. It will help significantly if we can tweak these quit bans and make them go away, or at least find a way to make them like happen less when you get disconnected via error code or aren't able to queue into a game and you close your app and it randomly gives you a loss. And like, it's just stupid stuff that's just really annoying. So would really like to see quit bans addressed this year, and I'm crossing my fingers that maybe that happens even before the game comes out and it turns out that the quit bans actually aren't in this version of NBA 2K25 MyTEAM. So we'll see what happens. It's just my hope. With that being said, that's good for this video. I hope y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.